Well, I think we should start. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for joining us today. My name is Elena. I'm a senior trade advisor responsible for life sciences and healthcare at DIT Russia and the British Embassy in Moscow. At our today's webinar, we are going to talk about new unified procedures for the registration of medical devices and medical equipment for Eurasian Economic Union, which will be effective January 1st, 2022. We will be also talking about some market barriers, some market access issues. We will be talking about localizations, and we will also be sharing tips on doing business in Russia. So we'll start with the presentation first, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Please be active and put your questions in the chat box, and please indicate who your question is addressed to. If we are not able to answer all your questions today, please email us and we will be happy to answer you in a timely manner. Also, our webinar will be recorded and the recording will be sent automatically when we finish. And let me start with introducing our today's speakers. Our first speaker is Vadim Sviridov. He is a deputy director of the Meditex company. Their company is involved in the registration of medical equipment and medical devices. They also provide some marketing services. Our other speaker is Oleg Berezin. Oleg is a partner at Deloitte Russia. And we are waiting for our final speaker. She is Elena Legezina. She is a president and CEO of GE Healthcare in Russia and CIS. So let us start with the presentation by Vadim. He will be talking about registration procedures, about both national registration procedures and procedures for the Eurasian Economic Union. And I forgot to mention, I think you're aware of the Eurasian Economic Union. This is the union of 5 countries, which are Russia, Kazakhstan, Belarus, Armenia, and Kyrgyzstan. Vadim, the floor is yours. Let me start your presentation.
Irina, thank you for introduction. Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to be here, but let's start from the very beginning.
Yeah. Well, so some technical issues again.
Yeah.
This is your presentation, no?
Yeah, that's mine. All right. As Irina mentioned, we have a new life, completely new life from the registration perspective. Let's move a little bit to the very beginning of presentation, just to show you some charts and numbers. Oops, right, okay. So as Irina mentioned, we have a new life starting on January 1st. So brand new system. Some of our international customers see it as a little bit similar to European one, but with some differences. So the main player, mostly interesting for you, I think, as a manufacturer and sales guys, Russia, the biggest partner of this union. Here you see the trend from the money perspective. At this very moment, the market volume is about 9 billion euros. Irina, your mic is not muted. Could you please? All right, thanks. Other countries, smaller, really smaller, and it may cause some issues, but this is too detailed information. Let me drive you through the market structure. So top 3 interesting areas of medtech market in Russia. That's IVD for sure, because of the COVID. It's pushed this segment. Second one from the government. That's a government-related structure. That's a minimally invasive surgery. That's really popular in as a patient. I would say that's really interesting and mostly promoted by hospitals, state hospitals. And imaging. That's also stimulated by situation around COVID. So what about private segment? That's a not completely, but a little bit different situation. That's explainable. For sure, it's in vitro IVD items, top 35%, and we expect that this area will keep growing through next 2-3 years until this not pandemic but panic around virus will slow down. Second segment, that's dental for sure. No doubts, I think in most countries that's a second segment on the private sector. Third one, that's ophthalmology. That's also big number, not so big as IVD, but still 2-digit numbers. So what's the import from the, let's look through the import structure. You see distribution among European Union, US and Asian part. The biggest one, Europe. Here, I don't know, do you see the number of volume UK? That's about 2.1% of total import from Europe, from outside of Russia. Top country, Germany. Unfortunately, that's a historical preferences. I'm touching with the end customers, and I can confirm that in any cases, in any choices, hospital will prefer to get German items. That's how to say, real situation in Russia. So consumption. Oh my gosh, the slide completely dead, but let me explain what's here. So let's walk from left to right. Left side shows state segment, state sector. The biggest customer for sure, that's a state-related customers, hospitals, laboratories, and clinics. They are regulated tender procedure. All items goes through the tender procedures, and you have no option to jump around or walk around this. It's regulated by 2 federal laws, number 44/203, 2-3, as I remember. In some cases, there might be a, how to say, just sole supplier. Second label, that's a departmental sector. There, they can define on a lower level which items to buy, how to go, and in some cases they may avoid tender procedure or any, how to say, competition among suppliers. They also may define to buy from one supplier as an option. Private sector is about 24%, and we don't expect a significant growth in the private sector, but there is a slight growth. It's more related on private clinics, private laboratories that are growing now, and hospitals. That's about 60%, and patient and, how to say, real end customers, they are about 40% of this, how to say, private segment purchase. As I mentioned, tender procedure, that's a strictly regulated by government, and it's covered about 75% of the market, total market. So you have to go through the procedure, and I see the note, no voice. Any issues with the sound? It's working. Okay.
No issues.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So on a tender, you will face a strong competition from Russian companies, and Russian government, they support how to say, local manufacturers or domestic manufacturers in most cases. For example, there might be 3 suppliers of the same item, medical device, and 2 of them will be Russian. Third one might be you. So in this case, you will have no chance to win the race, unfortunately. And there is a number of documents issued by Russian government that supports only Russian or, as I mentioned, localized manufacturers. So that stimulates you as an UK manufacturers to think about localization, to set up a production in Russia or at any country in this Eurasian Union. So in this case, you will have the same preferences as Russian domestic manufacturers. So that we're talking about at least 15%. Also, you will have some tax preferences. For sure, you have compliant to the Eurasian Union regulation. For sure, that's no doubt. But from the tender perspective, it's better to be localized or Russian one than be an international company or foreign company. There is some exceptions. For example, you can provide a very unique, very unique device or technology, medical technology, to Russia, and you are only only one supplier around the world, or there are no other substituted products in Russia. In this case, yes, you will compete with other foreign companies, for example, or you will face no competition at all. I hope it's clear. It's not clear, just let's discuss on a Q&A session. All right, so about localization, there is we define the roadmap, how to enter Russia and how to set up local company, local production, not a company. There is some requirements in place described by government and trade embassy, trade chamber, apologize. So first of all, you have to think about customers. Who's your customers? What's your market volume? That's all about market intelligence. Then think about investments. How much money do you need to set up this production, and what will be return on your investments, for sure. Define the strategy, how to go directly or use a channel system. And then get all papers in place, set up production. So there is a more or less clear roadmap of this process. And in this case, you will get all papers in place, production in place, and then you will be a local or Russian manufacturer, and you will have the same preferences as a domestic manufacturers. So here, I think you will get this presentation here, the steps you need to look through, to go through, to get the information, analyze the data about the market, the system, how it works, prepare, set up, and let's go. So also you have to know that the control and supervising from government in Russia, it's becoming more and more strict, more and more attention to medical device life cycle. You see the organizations involved in this start from I think some of you know Roszdravnadzor, Ministry of Health, and other departments, high level. New system, new registration system. It's pointed on and improve of the control, and to set up a filter for low quality items or dangerous items. As I already mentioned, you see there is a union of 5 countries that's agreed to use a single rules for registration. Mostly interesting that compared with existing one, you will have an audit of your production site on top of existing requirements. Also, there is some change in papers you need to go through the process. Also, there are some changes in testing. Most of international manufacturers ask me about can we use our technical or toxicological or clinical reports from Europe, US, or Asia. No, you have to go through the procedure in country. Only in country you have to do testing, all testing, including EMC and all other required testing regarding measurements also. So, as I mentioned, new life is coming soon. Second question, what is the lead time? Lead time we expect will be for next 3-4 years around 2.5 years you will spend to get a ticket to enter Russian market. Not only Russian, but also countries you will define. At the very beginning, you have to decide which countries you will cover. First of all, Russia, for sure. Then you have to define at least one country of recognition. For example, you may think about Russia and Kazakhstan, two biggest markets in the Union. Then you can go through the process in Russia, and then all the papers, all the experts report on your dossier will be delivered to the country of recognition, and the country will review the dossier and accept or decline it. In case the second country of recognition will decline you, so that's a dead end, you have to start from the very beginning. That's again 2.5 years and a significant investment. So in the box at the right hand side of the slide, you see an estimation of the process reflected on the scheme. My recommendation to use 68 weeks from your business planning perspective, because sales guys will not wait, they will push you, screw you, and it's better to think about 68 weeks for expertise, just for expertise. That means you will spend maybe a year, maybe a little bit more to prepare all papers. All papers must be in Russian. You have to do all required tests based on the type of your medical device. Then all these papers you will submit to Roszdravnadzor, let's call it RZN, to RZN. And then they will move your papers, all your reports, send you back remarks you have to work with. And then, based on this, you will get or not get a registration certificate. That's just paper, but you will get a, permission to enter Russian market. So here you see a sample of, it's similar to CE mark. You will get this label on your product that will show that you are legal, you complied with the regulation, and you're allowed to sell your items. Just for your information, based on federal law number 323, you strongly prohibited to sell non-registered items. It will lead you to about 8 years of prison, or your local representative will stop the business for this time. All right, so here, just for information, that's also a common question about what's the reimbursement scheme. So it goes from the federal budget, or it goes through the commercial part, like insurance. It also may be covered. So the system is more or less workable and looks similar to international one and US one. All right, what's the issues? First of all, that's a tender procedure, as I mentioned. As a foreign manufacturer, you will face a strong competition from local manufacturers. Let's call them all, Russian and localized ones. Also, there is an issue with the getting a certificate that confirmed that confirm that you were local manufacturer or Russian manufacturer, that called ST1. There is not simple process that will take us about half an hour to explain what is it, what's the regulation, what's the documents in place. But you have to take this. With this certificate, you will get the same preferences. Regulatory affair, that's really complex process, not difficult, but complex process, and you have to be very careful. That's time consuming, costly. If you have an experience with the existing regulation, current regulation, you can double your budgets, at least double, better triple, because nobody at the market knows what's going on. 100% uncertainty, new procedure with some blind spots, with the non-synchronized documents. It will be cleaned up within the next maybe half a year or maybe a year, and the system will be good. Probably the time lead time will be shorter. I don't know. I can't assure you as a government, because I'm a private sector. Also, testing labs. Number of testing labs reduced dramatically, and it caused a significant increase in cost of testing. For example, cost of technical tasks grew from 100,000 rubles at the very beginning of this year to 500,000 end of this year. A number of labs authorized for Eurasian system, 2 times less than existing number of laboratories authorized for Russian system. Also, third point, I think I put some coin in your on your side. That's about landing your production in Russia. There is two main issues: utilities, where to set up a factory or production, and people. You have strict requirements for quality, for workforce, and you will in some regions you may not find the proper workers or engineers to hire. That's an issue we see talking with the foreign companies. So, tips and tricks around: first of all, understand the market, identify your customers, potential customers, look through the regulation. Very good news for you. I'd like to be quite positive, but I want to put in place a conservative projection. There is a document related to Eurasian system in English. It will be easier to understand, because for current system there is no documents in English, only in Russian, and you can't use automatic translation to understand them, because we tried it as Russian guys and it was really funny. Second one, be careful choosing a partner, or regulator affair provider here. If you don't have your local stuff here, be very careful, because we see some teams, some companies playing around lead time, costs. They don't show all the cost structure, or they may face, for example, I can tell you, I'll drive you through the registration within 1.5 years, but the whole process will take more than 2 years, because you have to prepare documents, you have to do testing. That's also time, right? But you may see one company will show you a whole lead time, whole cost structure, and it will be, scaring a little bit. Second company will show you just an expertise time and lower cost, because small font will reflect that testing not included, preparation lead time not included, and you will miss it. You may I think you got an idea. So be very careful. Also, do a regular gap audit. Look around your portfolio, certificate portfolio, if you're already in Russia. Look through till 2026. You are allowed to update, amend your existing certificates. If you have a Russian certificates with no expiration date, you are lucky. You can keep working in Russia till the end of the certificate, or your MD will be obsolete. So, and also final tip: think about localization. It's really hard. It's really hard to find a proper supplier with the products with the required quality. That's also an issue here. But think about, because it's about 15%, and we expect that the situation will, improve for Russian or localized manufacturers, and will be tough for you as a foreign manufacturer. So that's all from my end. Let's talk about Q&A on a session. We discussed. Irina, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Vadim, so very much. We'll have a Q&A session at the end. Again, thank you for such detailed presentation. I bet our participants will have a lot of questions specifically to you. And while Vadim already touched bases on localization, our next speaker, Oleg Berezin, will speak about localization in more detail. The reason we are doing it is because the Russian government is strongly pursuing its import substitution agenda. So, Oleg, the floor is yours. Let me start your presentation.
Yes, thank you, Irina. The topic of my presentation relates mostly to restrictions that are applicable to imported medical devices in public procurement, and the status of made in Russia product. Actually, it's made in Eurasian Economic Union, but for the simplicity, we call it made in Russia. So my first slide is about general regulations and overview, but I think Vadim already spoken about unified or single market and unified regulations within Eurasian Economic Union. I just would like to note that the majority of the market is public, almost 90% of the market is public, and it means that you should take into account your localization strategy or market access strategy. That's what we are going to talk about. This slide is about what kind of restrictions that are applied to imported medical devices, but we call it preferences in public procurement for local products. So probably let's start from the end, from the prohibition for certain products produced outside Eurasian Economic Union to access public procurement, because there is a list of products and you can see all the references to regulatory acts, to the legislation. And this is a general list, but there are certain items that relate to healthcare, for example, ambulance vans, some furniture and medical masks. So these items are not allowed to access public procurement at all, with certain exceptions, of course. For example, some expendables can still be sold, but still you have to take this into account, that some products are not allowed at all. We have to the crowd rule, which states that if there is at least one local product, then any imported products are not allowed for public procurement. And these and this rule is quite recent. It's applicable from September 2020. it relates mostly to, well, I listed categories or classificatory categories here, but these are mainly heavy equipment like tomographs, ultrasound equipment, X-ray, and so on. So these are just categories. So you can see that there are certain applications, and category 26.60 is everywhere, but it's just a category. So particular codes are different. 3 is a crowd rule, which states that if there are at least 2 local products, and again, by local products, we mean products produced in the Eurasian Economic Union, not just in Russia. So if there are at least 2 local products, then any imported product is not allowed for public procurement. And again, because we have a recent change, a recent introduction of 2 as a crowd, so some of the codes of medical devices were moved from 3 as a crowd rule to 2 as a crowd rule. Because previously these radio electronic or radiology, mostly, I mean, heavy equipment was included in 3 as a crowd rule. And in case all these rules are not applicable to you, then there are price and benefits that are applicable to local products, and these price and benefits can be used or should apply, because, I mean, if the importance of this rule, again, how does it work? If all these rules, 3 is a crowd, 2 is a crowd rule, is not applicable to you, then if there is an offer at a public tender of an imported medical device and a local product, and then if a imported medical device wins based on the price, then there is an obligatory 15% discount and even 20% discount to the price offered. If a local product wins, then there's no obligatory discount, but there is a price and benefit. I mean, the price which is quoted for local product is considered beneficial using this price and benefit. So and again, all these codes are listed in these regulatory acts, and sometimes, well, you can see that there could be duplication, and there could be, in respect of 3 as a crowd rule, because we have like 2 resolutions about 2 as a crowd rule. So the main one is resolution 102, but there is another one, resolution 617, and there could be duplication with some codes. There is a specific letter from the Ministry of Industry and Trade saying that if there is a duplication, then you can use the more suitable or applicable code. Again, it looks like a mess, but well, it's not a complete mess, right? Because some of the codes were actually excluded from 3 as a crowd and included in 2 as a crowd rule. So these are basically main regulations that introduce the preferences for local products. And by the way, yes, I forgot to mention that there is another regulation saying about minimum share of local products in public procurement. Again, this is in addition to 2 as a crowd and 3 as a crowd rule. And this minimum share of local products, which is established and it's increasing from year to year until 2024, if I'm not mistaken. So again, state customers should use this guidance in while asking for particular purchases. So these should be taken into account. A few words. So we'll talk about the status of Made in Russia, how to get this the Made in Russia status. But let's first discuss the VAT treatment of medical devices in Russia. And we are talking here about importation and sale on the Russian territory. So we have two preferential VAT treatment based on two regulations, Resolution 1042, which is about VAT exemption. And this resolution lists the codes of medical devices based on Russian classificatory with respect to the sale in Russia and based on customs tariff codes with respect to imported medical devices. And although this resolution lists, well, the description of medical devices and with indication of particular customs tariffs codes and the Russian classificatory codes, there could be, as well as resolution 688 with respect to the application of the reduced 10% VAT rate, because the standard rate is 20%. Again, the same story with the codes here. And although these resolutions list indicate the description of particular medical devices, listing both codes, customs tariff codes and Russian classificatory codes at the same time, there could be differences in the VAT treatment of medical devices imported and sold within Russia. So, for example, a particular medical device could be taxed at 20% upon importation, but could be exempt upon the sale in Russia. And this is not a very pleasant situation, because in case your sale within Russia is exempt, you are not allowed to claim this customs VAT paid upon importation for recovery. This is a cost for you. Another unpleasant situation can happen when there is a exemption upon importation, or there is a 10% rate applies upon importation, and you expect that the same exemption or the same 10% rate applies upon the sale of this medical device to the distributor, or by the distributor to the state customer, and then it happens that it's not the case. So the sale of this medical device is taxed at 20%. Or if it was exempt upon importation, then it's taxed at 10%. These situations happen, and the recent case we had with one of our clients is that they won a tender, and the price quoted was inclusive of all the taxes, of all VAT, of VAT in particular. And then it happened that the sale of this medical device was subject to 20%. And again, either the seller should withdraw from the contract, which again is not a very good situation, or it's a cost for the business. So make sure that you understand the VAT treatment both upon importation and upon the sale of this medical device, so that it's not your economics is not ruined. So that's also, I would like to mention one more thing here. It's also a big question, or could be a question, an issue as to what is the VAT treatment upon importation of spare parts and expendables, because there were cases, and there have been cases, there are still cases with respect to the importation of spare parts and expendables that are imported together or separately with the medical device. And sometimes the customs authorities state that the importation of these spare parts and expendables is taxable, So in case, for example, the medical device is exempt upon importation. And then it's a big question, and there are court cases on that. There are disputes with the customs authorities regarding that, and some disputes are resolved in favor of importers. Some disputes are not in favor of them. But the general logic could be here as follows. So some courts state that you have to. I mean, the spare parts should be mentioned in the market authorization, and not just in some cases not just mentioned, but the quantity of particular spare parts should be mentioned in the market authorizations. So these spare parts are also exempt upon importation. Some courts rule in favor of importers, saying that if it's expendables, then it doesn't matter whether they are imported separately or not. So the recommendation here is that if it's possible, then please indicate all spare parts and expendables in the market authorizations, or if it's not possible, well, get market authorization, separate market authorization for particular expendables or spare parts, if it's possible to register them as a separate medical device. So these are just a few issues that you may have with respect to VT treatment and upon importation and sale of medical device. And the last topic I would like to talk about is obtaining made in Russia status. So this relates to all restrictions with respect to imported medical devices, and or as you call it, preferences for local products. So and you can see that there are different bases or regulations that refer to the made in Russia status. So for example, if we take three as a crowd rule, which is resolution, I mean the main resolution 102, is that this resolution refers to certificate ST1, which is issued in Russia by the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And the basis for this certificate, or I mean the rules that should be applied to determine the country of origin, is CIS country of origin rules. So there is a treaty on the rules of determination of the country of origin in the CIS. So this is an international treaty, and this is the basis for issuing, for the Chamber of Commerce and Industry to issue ST1 certificate. Again, this is different from three as a crowd rule for pharmaceuticals, because for pharmaceuticals in the similar resolution there is a choice between ST1 and the examination report of the Ministry of Industry and Trade. Here it's only ST1 and based on country of origin rules in the CIS. Again, we have another three as a crowd resolution. As I mentioned, there are two of them, which is 617, and this resolution refers to Russian rules, which is the main document here is resolution 719, and it's issued on the basis of the law, of the Russian law on industrial policy. So and these rules, I mean, this resolution, the rules which are mentioned, which are established by the resolution 719 and country of origin rules in the CIS may be different, although they are quite similar. And for most of medical devices, you have to achieve an ad valorem share for these products to be treated as local. Again, unlike in most of pharmaceuticals or medicines. So, but still, you have to take into account that there could be differences between country of origin in the CIS rules and rules that are established by Resolution 719. Again, the same story with choose a crowd rule, because it refers to the unified register of Russian radio electronic products, and as I mentioned, choose a crowd rules mainly works with respect to, or is applicable with respect to heavy equipment like tomographs, ultrasound, and X-ray. So these are mainly radio electronic products, and in order to be treated as local product, this particular product should be registered, should be included into a specific register of such products. And again, to be included into this register, the rules that are established by Resolution 719 should apply. Again, which are purely Russian. So this is not international treaty. This could be different. Another ground to obtain Made in Russia status, and which is automatic, is to sign a special investment contract. And there is specific legislation with respect to these contracts, and we have special investment contract concept, well, 2.0, because before that we have 1.0, but these are like legacy contracts that this legislation is no longer applicable. So we have special investment contracts concluded based on this old legislation, but these old rules are not applicable currently. And you have, if you don't have like old special investment contract, then you have to comply with these new rules. And the main difference between the old rules and new rules is that you have to comply with one obligatory condition, that you have to implement a technology that is included into the list of modern technologies. Again, this list is approved by the resolution number 319, and then after that, it should be concluded on a competitive basis, so it's not automatic, almost automatic like it was before. But there's no minimal investment amount. Well, the validity of this contracts will depend on the investment amount, but if it's 15 or 20 years, but there's no minimal amount. And again, as I said, if you manage to sign this special investment contract, if you on this competitive basis, then your product will be automatically be treated as local product. And plus, another one important advantage of having a special investment contract is that you will be able to sell your local product as a single participant of a tender. So it means that you may not have any competitors at state tenders at all. So these, I think, well, another slide, this is the last slide I have, but I think Vadim already mentioned the market access roadmap, and his roadmap is quite detailed, but mine actually relates to a decision on whether or not to localize your production. And it's quite the same, because you have to choose the market. And as I said, almost 90% of the market is public procurement. Even if you choose private hospitals and retail, that is out of pocket. It's likely that you will not be focused only on this market, because it's too small. It will likely be too small for you. So in any case, you have to focus on public procurement, and then you have to understand, you have to find out whether your particular medical device code, classificatory code, is included in any list that is subject to restrictions or prohibition in state procurement. And well, if you're lucky and the answer is no, but it doesn't mean that you have to relax. You have to monitor restriction lists, because the codes, I mean, these lists, restriction lists, are expanded from time to time, and new rules are introduced. As I said, the recent to the crowd rule was quite a surprise. And then you also should monitor the market, because if there is at least one localized competitor, but your product is not included in I mean, code of your medical device is not included, that it means that it will likely be included sooner or later. And I think that's it that I wanted to talk about, and thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, then I'm glad to answer.
Thank you, Oleg. Thank you so very much for such detailed presentation. There was a question from Bob concerning distributor. Yeah, and sometimes it's easier to work through a distributor, because distributor will take care of getting a market authorization. But in order to be more effective on the Russian market and have better access to end users, to public procurement and other stuff, you may consider opening a representative office. And so let me give a floor to our another speaker from Elena Legezina, President and CEO of GE Healthcare Russia and CIS. Elena will share their experience in doing business in Russia, their business model, and she will also tell you about their own localization sample. Elena, the floor is yours.
Okay. Can you hear me well, Irene?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Let me first speak a little bit about the company that I represent. General Electric came to Russia about 100 years ago. GE Healthcare has been working at Russian market for about 30 years. What we do as a company, we develop, we manufacture advanced medical equipment, but not only equipment, also solutions, including IT solutions within healthcare area, within healthcare industry. During 30 years, while we are at the market, we brought to the market more than 50,000 of advanced medical devices, which are used and supplied to more than 2,000 different medical facilities. Among our partners and our end users, such big institutions as Cardio Institute, Research Institute named by Bakulev in Moscow, it's Cardiovascular Surgery Institute in Moscow as well, Salmazov Center in St. Petersburg, such big oncology centers, center named by Rogacheva, Gertsona in Moscow, and also big private hospitals, which are our partners, especially in the solutions area, such as MedC, Mother and Child, Our Medicine, EMC, Hadassah. We have a very big company. It's about 550 employees. And what is more important is not only commercial team, it's about 130 service engineers. The service engineers are not only helping to install the equipment, their task also to make sure that equipment is working without any interruption. We have about 20 clinical applicators, and that team helps to the doctors to learn how to operate equipment effectively and efficiently. We have about 90 service points, service centers across Russia, and we have 2 very big training centers, one in Moscow and one in St. Petersburg. Now let me talk a little bit about our portfolio. We'll switch the slide. Here you see our portfolio. literally speaking, our portfolio could meet the needs in 70% cases of any clinic. You see different segments of the portfolio. If I talk about imaging portfolio, this is used for diagnostics and analytics. Tomography, MRI and CT, molecular imaging, X-rays, mammography, different types of ultrasound for different segments of task, and even body compositions. Our interventional portfolio is used not only for diagnostics, but also for surgery. The clinical care portfolio is widely used in emergency care. I don't know whether or not you've ever seen that, but we have a lot of that in the COVID hospitals at the moment. And digital solutions is a core for all our cardio and oncology programs, also for the prime care program. In addition, we have contrast media, which is also used in diagnostics in line with imaging equipment. Russian market is a strategic market for GE Healthcare. And speaking about strategy, we as a company support the priority tasks announced by Russian government for the healthcare industry. Here I'm speaking about the improvement of the quality of medical services, availability of medical services to everyone, reduction of mortality. We as the company focus on 4 main areas in this respect. First of all, supporting national programs within oncology, cardiology, and primary care. Secondly, localization. We talked a lot about localization today already. And here we're also at the front line. And it's not only equipment, it's also knowledge. I will talk about that just in a few minutes. Number 3 area is digital transformation. And here speaking about digital transformation, we talk about precision medicine, we talk about telemedicine, we talk about artificial intellect as well. And the last but not the least, it's a clinical training. It's education for healthcare professionals. Great. Let me focus on national programs and give you just 2 examples here. Within oncology, we have a concept of quick diagnostic. The idea of quick diagnostic goes from idea of one-day clinic. The core of the concept is IT solution, digital solution. The digital solution helps very quickly get the results of diagnostics, analyze those results, sometimes with the help of artificial intellect. Then based on the result, route the patient, optimize the workflow. And here it's not only patient, it's also doctors, it's also equipment. And all of that is done under one roof, predominantly within 1 day. We have such experience already in many European countries. Our first experience comes from France, where many years ago we started the experience of women's health clinic. I'm talking about breast cancer. There, 70% of women coming to the clinic at the end of day 1 get not only diagnosis, they also get prescription and they get prescribed treatment. This is what we're trying to do here as well. And we have already the first experience with MedC. We're partnering on breast cancer clinic as well. Under development also with MedC, we have men's health clinic. Now I'm talking about prostate cancer and lung cancer clinic. We also have another very good solution within cardiology. Here I'm talking about Muse. Muse we implemented several years ago in emergency centers in St. Petersburg. It's electronic cardiogram, which with the help of Muse gets collected, analyzed, transmitted in a digital form. What it gives to us? It gives very quick data collection, analysis, and artificial intellect, which also helped to give not even the final diagnosis, then pre-final diagnosis, which also ruled the patients. What we managed to get here, it's a saving of about 30% of time. If we talk about the cardio patient, and if we talk about emergency, sometimes it's really a vital for this patient. This solution is used in Finland for whole country. In Russia, again, we have only right now example of very successful solution in St. Pete, and we also started with Meditex, and they already have it in about 16 clinics. Now going to the area of localization. We started localizing the equipment back in 2009. We have a partner until, in the Moscow region. We started with 5 advanced models of CTs, and then we added ultrasounds. Right now, 7 different models are localized. It's not yet deep localization, we are working on that. At this point of time, it's assembling, but we'll get to deep localization as well. We are on the way. In summer, we signed a strategic partnership agreement with Rosatom on localization of MRs. And that's already completely different chapter for us. It's going to be a very advanced 1.5 Tesla machine, 2 types, locally produced, which we're really very proud of that. And it's not the end of the story. We have a line of initiatives. I will not be talking about that right now, but they will be coming. Again, it's a focus for the company. Also, going back to the importance of the subject, which 2 prior speakers already highlighted. The next is localization of professional expertise. To our opinion, it's also very important. For the country, it's even maybe more important than just equipment. We established our first education center back in 2009. Right now, it has the name of GE Healthcare Academy. And at this market, they are famous for this name. Then later, in 2018, we opened the satellite academy in Novosibirsk. What we do there, it's not only clinical education, which is the primary, of course. The clinical education helps doctors and medical specialists to learn how to operate our equipment. What is interesting, during the COVID time, we managed to transfer all that online. Some would be surprised whether or not it's possible to learn how to operate equipment remotely, but it is possible and it's very efficient as well. Not as efficient, but it is. In addition to that, we conduct other classes. It's not only clinical education of G equipment. It's also classes on exchange, on knowledge exchange, on expertise exchange, on solution exchange, protocol exchange. And here, many classes are led by leading institutions, by leading experts, and not only Russian ones. We also attract a lot of knowledge from abroad, from Israel, from the United States, from all over Europe, giving opportunity to doctors and specialists to ask questions, to exchange information, to exchange experience. So far, during the period while it's working, we prepared more than 25,000 healthcare professionals here at this market. And perhaps last but not the least, wanted to talk about G effort to address COVID-19. We're very proud that during the pandemic time, G Healthcare helped to fight COVID-19 challenges, providing the support with equipment and with trainings within a very short period of time. In fact, unprecedented period of time, we managed to bring to the market more than 1,400 ventilators almost within 1 year and install them, and more than 100 computer tomographs. We also opened and organized webinars for those fighting against COVID. And what we're really also proud of, we managed to install the computerized framework in Kommunarka. It was the first place where we did that, that helped remotely help patients, which is in a way safety for the doctors and opportunity also for the doctors to prepare reports 24/7. More than 200 CT exams doctors were able to conduct per day, which is a lot if you know the average of exams in a normal time. This is shortly about the strategy of the company, about what we do right now at the market. And in conclusion, what I would like to say is that we see this market as a very strategic market for us. We see the future for the healthcare industry and for us, of course, under precision health. Very often I'm being asked, what is next? The answer is always precision health. Precision health in 3 areas: in the area of diagnostics, in the area of therapeutics, and the area of post-treatment monitoring. We're here strategically, we're here for a long time. Thank you very much. Would be glad to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena, so very much. So as Elena mentioned, Russia might sound like a very complicated market, but it is a strategic market. So thank you again, all our speakers. And now it's time for our Q&A session. There are quite a few questions from James. So the first question is the ISO 13485 the basic requirement?
Yes, now it's a must. Let me answer. Yes, it's a must based on new system. For risk class 2A and third one, for first and 2A, that's an optional, but better to have than none.
And what about the CE mark?
CE mark not applicable in Russia and Eurasian Union. That's for the moment, how to say, separate systems.
And I think you already answered this question, but is the approval in any one country means cover all EU countries?
Yeah.
No, it's
not at all. You will define which countries you will cover. For example, you may go through Russia or other members. Then you will define country of recognition, and then you will cover these countries also. Will confirm your dossier. Also,
is there any priority of approval via Russia than other countries? Or basically, is it easier to get a market authorization in Russia?
Formally no. But who knows how the system will work? Because it's clear you can go through Russia. The process might be complicated, and you can define, okay, let's try Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan or Armenia. Basically, how to say, no difference which country you will find you will define as entry country, and define which country will be country of recognition. But I think through Russia it will be, how to say, not easier, but more you will improve probability to get the certificate and to get a, how to say, positive decision.
And we also
Well,
talked.
I can add one comment with
Mhm.
respect to recognition. Well, probably based on my experience with pharmaceuticals, maybe Vadim will comment on medical device situation. But yes, if you go through Russia, then in order to sell all the products, the same product in other Eurasian Economic Union countries, you have to go through the recognition procedure, and actually there is a problem with that. So if you go to Kazakhstan and register in Kazakhstan, and as far as I understand, now it's only possible to register the product under Eurasian Economic Union rules from the next year. Then, yes, you will be able to sell it in Kazakhstan, definitely. But in order to sell it in Russia, you have to go through a recognition procedure, and then it could be an issue, because one of our clients, I mean, pharmaceutical client, they register their product, pharmaceutical product, in under Eurasian Economic Union rules, but they are still not able to sell it in Kazakhstan because it's not recognized still, because they have an issue with recognition.
Thank you, Oleg. Another question from James. We talked a lot about localization, and for example, if we're talking about locally manufactured product, for example, made in Russia, can it be automatically sold in all EU countries or not, and vice versa? Like for, I don't know, a product made in Kazakhstan, can it be sold in other EU countries?
Well, again, this relates to
Localization. No, localization, I think. But I think if any product or device is made in Russia, the preferences are given only in Russia, right? Not in other countries.
Yes, sure, because we have we have local restrictions with respect to imported medical devices and pharmaceuticals. And yes, Kazakhstan and the other Eurasian Economic Union member states, these are different regulations. They may have similar, or they may not have any discrimination of imported products. And again, it's based on WTO agreement, because based on accession agreement with respect to Russia, Russia should not discriminate imported products with respect to private market, and it specifically stated it may discriminate imported products, foreign products, with respect to the public procurement, which it does.
Okay, thank you so very much. And are you aware of, well, you mentioned different regulations like in Kazakhstan. Are there like similar rules like 3 as a crowd or 2 as a crowd in Kazakhstan? Are you aware of such regulations in Kazakhstan, for example?
No. As far as I understand, well, if even if there are certain restrictions, but they are not so, I would say, severe as in Russia. But I didn't hear about 2 as a crowd or 3 as a crowd rule in Kazakhstan.
Okay, thank you, Vadim and Oleg. I do not see any other questions. Please don't be shy. Please write your questions in the chat box. Well, I do not see any other questions. I think there will be questions after the webinar. As I mentioned before, you're welcome to email your questions to us, and we'll be happy to answer all of them. Thank you again for participating in our today's webinar, and please stay safe and healthy, and happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.